Hey, welcome to the Bring Your Worth Show. I am Damon Brown, DamonBrown.net. My main thing is help you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, or also a non-traditional entrepreneur. I'm coming to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time, to talk about things that are relevant to, again, non-traditional entrepreneurs. I want to go and get us started on Amazon Live. So shout out to y'all that are just joining us right now. And yeah, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you can come through and see me. Been coming strong for a little while now, hopefully strong. This live episode might be my 150th episode. Meaning I, just started the show in late December. So thanks all y'all who have been supporting. Hit some major milestones over the last week or two. So a lot of y'all are tuning in for the first time, which I appreciate. Thank you for all the love. As usual, you can subscribe for free at the link down here. There it is, youtube.com/Brown Damon. If you're actually watching it live on YouTube or what have you, you just click on the link and you subscribe. It's always free. We got 150 or so episodes. This might be the 150th. I got to sit down and do the math. Might be the 148th that you're watching right now. Pretty exciting. Yeah, it just came out with the launch of the show. Again, late December. So pretty crazy. We're in late September. So a lot can happen in 9 months, as y'all know, as parents, if you happen to be a parent. But much love to y'all that have been supporting it. I have a new book coming out called Career Remix, Get the Gig You Want based on the skills you've got. If you're checking it out on Amazon Live, shout out to y'all. Just click on the link and you can go straight to my Amazon page. If you're watching it live on YouTube or on LinkedIn or even on Twitter, man, we got all the bases covered today. You just click on the link. It's at Barnes & Noble. Shout out to them. I'm doing the book with Barnes & Noble and their subsidiary, Sterling Books, Sterling Publishing. Either go by Sterling Publishing or Sterling Books. But I've done a few books with them, some past bestsellers, if you know some of my history with Barnes & Noble. So it's good to partner with them again. And also have my books available through my own imprint called Bring Your Worth. And those are available as well as my coaching things. Because I do a lot of one-on-one coaching with a lot of y'all as non-traditional entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and solopreneurs. You can catch everything. I don't know what out means. Catch everything. Damon Brown over at DamonBrown.net. I'm in a goofy mood today, so thank you for rolling with me. Thank you for coming through. And if you want to go ahead and catch the latest episode of the Bring Your Worth Show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I have some exclusive stuff that's happening over there. Exactly 2 years ago, it's almost anniversary. It'll be the anniversary next week. Early October, I came through to the Toledo Lucas County Library and became the entrepreneur in residence. If y'all know my history, I used to live in Sylvania, which is right outside of Toledo. So I know the folks over there. Exactly 2 years ago, I went back to Toledo and held a series of keynotes there as entrepreneur in residence. I'm putting them exclusive, as they say in the New York mixtape era. If you're part of that, you know what I'm talking about. Exclusive. I'm putting them exclusively the audio of them over on my YouTube channel. Again, what you're watching, the Bring Your Worth Show. The first one already premiered. It's called To Know Your Worth. If you know my stuff, then you know Bring Your Worth was a book that I had out about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, that was popular at the time. It's still popular right now. I did a series of keynotes based on that book. Know Your Worth is the first of these keynotes. I'm going to be releasing them. The first one came out on Monday. It's an hour long. Nothing is cut out of it aside from some of the crowd questions, because it got a little personal, not personal for me, but personal for the audience. So I want to respect their privacy. But the actual keynote is there. Grab it. Man, like, I did a lot of work, and the Toledo Library put a lot of work into getting these keynotes done, these conversations done 2 years ago, and only that audience had access to them. So be sure and grab them while you can. All right, so let's talk about today. Today on the on the live show of Bring Your Worth, we're going to talk about, hey, I told you I'm doing it live, so it's going to take a minute. Bring Your Worth. We're talking about changing your POV. The reason why this is a theme for today, and I'm going to recommend some books for you in that regard. And feel free to jump in the comments if you have some questions or thoughts on that thing, because it seems to fit our world really well right now. There's so many things that we're dealing with that are very, my background is journalism, so I hate to kind of jump on that horse, but there's not a better word for it. We're in a very polarizing time. The fact is that it's always a polarizing time. There's always going to be folks that have a very different viewpoint than you do, that have a different argument, that live a very different life than you do, which is why I love traveling. That's why I became a journalist in the first place many years ago, was because I wanted to hear other viewpoints and other points of view. The thing is that it doesn't even matter if you don't get along with your neighbor right now, or, you know, you disagree with someone politically and all that. It even just has to do with you and your growth point. There's certain things when I got two sons, both elementary school age. There's certain things that I knew back then. There are things that I knew back in high school. There's definitely things that I thought I knew back when I was in my bachelor's program back in college, where I was confident this was the way of the world. You know, shout out to Earth, Wind, and Fire. And then I got an experience, and I was like, oh, not that I was wrong. It's just there's different ways of view of it. And there's very few cases where people are wrong. The thing is that if you're going to level up your career, if you're going to go to a new level, new area, as I talk about in my new book, Career Remix, which I forgot to mention, it's coming out January 11th, 2022. You can pre-order it right there. You know, as I talk about in Career Remix, if you're going to remix your career and you're going to a new place, you can't be doing the same thing that you did before. So even in regards to people who getting along with other people, what I mean is relationships. Even putting relationships aside, you have to have a good relationship with yourself. If you don't have a good relationship with yourself, then you're not going to be able to make those changes. And you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results, right? So I have some books that will help you kind of open your mind a little bit and go to a different level, hopefully. And again, it's the Bring Your Worst show. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So be sure and subscribe if you're liking this kind of content. All right, so the first book I recommend is The Dip. It's by Seth Godin. I've worked with him in the past. He has the marketing seminar, which is a workshop that he has. I participated in it about a year ago when my last book, where is it? Build From Now. You can see the salmon in the back. I won't torture you guys. Here's my latest book, Build From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. Here's a deluxe edition. You can grab it on Amazon or whatever your favorite platform is, or get a signed copy at damonbrown.net. So I was working with him when I was working on my latest book. And one of the things he talks about in this book, The Dip, I highly recommend it. He talks about how to quit stuff. And you have to know when to quit and when to hold on. I have several TED Talks that I did. I believe it was my third TED Talk was about quitting. Again, you can catch it on my channel at youtube.com/BrownDamon. All my TED Talks are available there for free. That's actually my third TED Talk. I've done 4. And we, particularly here in America, which is where I'm based in Las Vegas, we have this obsession with completing things, this obsession with not quitting. And in reality, there's a lot of things that we have to quit to get to the next level. This book is all about that, right? If I didn't quit being a full-time journalist, then I never would have become an author. If I didn't quit just being an author, then I never would have started public speaking and then did the aforementioned TED Talks. If I didn't just do public speaking, then I never would have become an entrepreneur. Actually, that's reversed. I started entrepreneurship before I started speaking. But for me to do entrepreneurship, and that I did 2 startups, my second startup got acquired. That success, those experiences, those things that I'm sharing with you in my books, as I highlight here, that never would have happened if I didn't quit those things before. And so our obsession with wanting to complete things, and I can relate to that as I talked about in my third TED Talk, is called Why You Should Strive for Good Enough. Again, you get at youtube.com/BrownDamon. As I talk about in the TED Talk, you have to learn when to let things go and when to keep going. This book is all about that. Seth does a marvelous job on it. I prefer the audiobook, and the link to the audiobook on Amazon is on there. The audiobook really changed the way that I view things. And in fact, it was one of the first audiobooks I really got into about 10 years ago, around the time my son was born. I really got into it, and it was pivotal for me. So I want to pass that on to you. I can talk about the book all day, but I will not, because I want to share some other stuff to you. And if you have any comments, I'm going to give space for that. A good pairing, if I can play sommelier for this, a good pairing is a video I did recently called How to Avoid 3 bad career decisions. A lot of it is about quitting. And I talk about quitting quite a bit in the new book, Career Remix, where we often will get obsessed and focus on just doing, again, the way that we've done things in the past because it works. But the thing is that we would be happier, we would be stronger, we'd have more opportunities if we actually pivoted towards a different direction. And so if whatever worked in the past worked, then we wouldn't be feeling uncomfortable now, right? So if you're going to remix your career, you have to know when to leave, when to quit. I talk about that. I think I mentioned Seth's book briefly in there. And I mentioned a few times on a previous shows. But with this one, I also mentioned Career Remix. I mentioned, I think I mentioned my previous bestseller too, The Ultimate Bike Size Entrepreneur. Shout out to y'all who made it a bestseller, which is still available through me and through your favorite bookseller, but through me at DamonBrown.net if you want a signed copy. It's a theme in my books, is a theme in Seth's book, is you have to be willing to let go of things. And a lot of that comes down to experimentation and doing things that are risky, but doing it on a smaller scale. And that in itself will help you find out what your next path is supposed to be. Again, it's the Bring Your Worst show, and we're talking about changing your POV. And you can subscribe to the show through the link, particularly through YouTube over here. So I figured I'd throw it up for y'all that are just joining. There we go. And so that's the link on there. It's always free. Come through. And this is like the 148th episode. So if you're just catching up, there's a lot for you to enjoy. All right. So next book I would recommend if you're feeling kind of stuck and you need to change your POV is The Creativity Leap. Please forgive the typo. It's by Natalie Nixon. Shout out to her. I talked to her very, very briefly earlier this year when her book got some status, and I mentioned it on a couple of the shows. So shout out to Natalie. Hope you're doing well. It's so important to understand that. And so the creativity leap. See, now I'm screwing up based on there. The creativity leap. She talks about this great concept. Let's talk about one concept in there. There's a lot of gems in there. One great concept: wonder and vigor. Wonder is when you're thinking about what the possibilities are, right? And some of us get stuck in that, where what can we do? What's possible? This could be so much better. Rigor is saying, okay, how can it not work? Shout out to Google, who talks about this a lot, like talking about Google like it's a person. But how could it not work? What are the challenges? How can we make this practical? You need both. That's the balance. The wonder phase, you're probably not going to be ready to quit on something. The rigor phase, though, you could see all these details where it's not quite going to work. The key is to balance these two things. Now, I get a lot deeper into that, or at least break it down more, in a recent conversation I had with Jonathan Fields. Shout out to Jonathan. I hope you're doing well. Who just had a new book come out called Sparked. And I have, where do I have Sparked? Well, I know I have The Creativity Leap up here. So again, shout out to Natalie. And then I have Sparked over here because I just interviewed Jonathan a few days ago. So it's off my shelf. Both great books, right? But I had an extensive interview with Jonathan about his new book, Sparked. Again, it just came out like a week ago. It's already in the bestseller list. So congrats to him. But I have two good conversations with him, both split into 2 episodes. Hope you enjoy it. But I talk a little bit more about his work as well as the work that Natalie's doing. So shout out to both of them. All right. So the final recommendation I would have would be, let's throw that in there. It would be Think Again, excuse me, by Adam Grant. So shout out to him. I have the audio book, so I do not have a physical copy, but great, gorgeous looking cover. Again, if you're on Amazon, you'll see something that's a match, but instead of a red flame, it's a blue flame. So thinking again about it. I've talked about thinking again quite a bit. I talked about my new book, Career Remix, again, out January 11th, 2022. If you're watching on Amazon, you can click on there to pre-order right now. Or you can go to my link. Let's see. You go to my link here and order it through Barnes & Noble. Shout out to Barnes & Noble for publishing it. And with Think Again, he's talking about questioning our assumptions. As simple as that. And it's a gorgeous, interesting book about that. Quoted quite a few times in Career Remix. But the bottom line here is that we have certain things that we find security in, certain assumptions, certain ideas, a certain framework, right? If you know my work, especially with my latest one, Built From Now, you know I'm into frameworks. So certain frameworks that we have, excuse me. So within these particular frameworks, that's how we live our lives. What happens though when we don't see the frameworks? That's the trouble. Talk about that in Built From Now. I talk about that in the upcoming Career Remix coming in January. When we don't see our framework, that's when we get into trouble. There's nothing wrong with having a framework. You know, my basic framework is from, you know, I'm an African-American guy approaching middle age from South Jersey. So that's part of my framework. That's part of my, literally part of my DNA. But if I don't recognize that's part of my bias, my structure, my mindset, then I might not have the same viewpoint of, say, someone from a female identifying person from Western China who doesn't have any internet. Their worldview is going to be extremely different than mine. It's okay that those worldviews are different, but what insight does she have that I don't have? And vice versa. If we don't recognize the framework, the structure, the parameters that we're working in, if we don't, you're right. If, as I said to a coaching client recently, if you don't know what sandbox you're playing in, then how are you going to develop anything? How are you going to create anything? So we need to know where those boundaries are. And it's so important. He gets deep into this, and I always appreciate Adam's work. This is one of my favorite books of his. Another favorite book of his would be Originals, which really got me into his work. A good pairing with this one from the channel, again, all free to y'all, is Adam Grant, How to Stop Languishing Today. It's based on a TED Talk that he did, actually the first in-person TED that we've had, which is awesome because I regularly go to the TED conference. Went to the TED conference in July. It was fantastic. Everyone was safe, which I loved. So shout out to TED for creating a safe environment that we could all gather. And everybody was safe, which is great. You know, so shout out to the people who are protecting themselves and protecting others. But we were able to do that with TED, and I was able to see Adam speak live, which was fantastic. He's always a great speaker. And he talked about it. And I ended up talking about what he talked about and ended up sharing it, ended up becoming a very popular episode. So evidently y'all are really into Adam. It's good to know. But be sure and check out the episode. You'll see the numbers. The numbers are crazy on there. So a lot of you we're trying to get that insight that luckily I was able to see in person with Adam talking. His TED Talk is actually live too, which I put the link in there. So you can go and check out the TED Talk, click on here, check out the TED Talk, which is linked in there, and then go ahead and check out my discussion and insights from the TED Talk, and you can get a nice 20-minute experience, just like you're chilling with me at TED. All right, so those would be my 3 recommendations. Off the top, it would be The Dip. Let me take care of y'all on Amazon. So The Dip, I would highly recommend it. And then go and check out my show on avoiding 3 bad career decisions. If you can't click on the link, just go to youtube.com/BrownDamon. That's one of my recent videos. You'll see Captain Picard on there doing his infamous facepalm, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The next book I would recommend would be The Creativity Leap. Pardon the error on the typing, but it's actually Creativity Leap, and it's by Natalie Nixon. Shout out to her. A book that I would a video I recommend would be my conversation with Jonathan Fields, whose new book Spark just came out, again on the bestseller list. And we talked about Natalie Nixon's work as well as his work as far as with the Good Life Project and the Satisfaction Spectrum. Lastly, I would recommend Think Again by Adam Grant. It's his latest book. It came out probably right after Built From Now. So it came out like in January. Fantastic book. And it's about questioning your assumptions, which we really need now. We always need it, but we really need it now. And then check out my breakdown of his recent TED Talk on languishing and about why we feel kind of blasé about our lives right now, what we can do about it. I break it down, you know, all the way down. His TED Talk just went live. The one that I saw live 3 months ago, it just went live on the internet. Click on there. You can go ahead and see the link to the TED Talk. You can watch the TED Talk live. You might be able to see me in the audience. I don't know how the camera work was going, but there weren't that many people there. So you might be see me smiling in the audience. And then you can go and check out my video on a recap as far as the best insights from that, as far as Thinking Again. And again, my name is Damon Brown. I am the Bring Your Worst show. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can subscribe for free. This is like the 148th episode. So even if you're just catching up now, you can binge and have a good time. I think there's been about 30, 40 live episodes. However many Wednesdays it's been since December. I took a short break during the summer, but we got some live episodes. So if you're liking this kind of content, be sure to subscribe, like, put some comments in there, share with people who are also on your journey. Because as I always say, you can do some stuff alone. I love doing stuff alone. I could be here in my little office laboratory cooking up all kinds of stuff for y'all. But even I got a team, not necessarily people that I hire, but people that support me and I support them. If there's more people that you want to get to your team, your tribe, as Seth Godin would say, share these videos with them. Subscribe and let them know what's going on, because I love to share that insight with them and help you create your own team. Anyway, until next time, remember that you can always bring your worth. You can always build from now. Take care.